Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.
SP Jain School of Global Management, in association with CNBC TV 18, organized the IT Management Conclave 2018, Leadership and Governance in the Digital Age, a unique platform to discuss and deliberate on the key trends shaping the IT sector and its impact on the economy. The conclave commenced with a welcome address by V.K. Menon, CEO India of SP Jain School of Global Management, on its innovative MBA program with global exposure and engaged learning through online technology.
Cutting into SP Jain School of Global Management, as we create leaders for the future, and we are very cognizant of the kind of changes that are really going to happen. As we innovate the MBA program and get our students to get future ready, one aspect of this whole thing is about global exposure. If you take our MBA programs, the GMBA for senior students, the MGB for junior students, etc., if you look at the program, they are studying in multi-cities. They study, it's a 1-year full-time program, but they do 4 months in Singapore, they do 4 months in Sydney, they do 4 months in Dubai. What it really does is that it kind of gets them deep into a particular culture. So when you go and study in Singapore, when you do courses with classmates from that location, when you work in industry, when you do projects out there, the learning gets kind of deep and it opens up for the student avenues which he or she may not have thought earlier. It is not just about understanding one culture. It's about understanding cultures. It's about understanding how to work in global milieu. So that's one thrust of the school. The second leg is to do with technology, integrating technology into learning. One example is engaged learning. We will see a small video on engaged learning which is happening online.
Welcome. How is everyone today? It's great to see you all. I assume you've all read the Trust Sphere's case. So, Jim, in Singapore, as the Trust Sphere CEO, what's your most important strategic decision to make today?
So I feel like we should pursue people analytics with today's platform while setting aside a small...
I think we already have a response here from Dubai. Dr. Gulnara?
I think we need to develop what our customers ask for.
So it sounds like we have two approaches to growing the company. Let's take a poll and find out what everyone thinks. 10 more seconds. Who answered C? Shirley in Singapore, what is your other way and why is it better?
We also manage an open innovation portfolio with high-tech startups. That way we can do both and innovate beyond our own resources.
Not a bad option.
The guest of honor, Dr. Ganesh Natarajan, founder and chairman 5F World, talks about the role of digital in redefining customer experiences.
I believe that digital is about completely redefining customer experiences. Digital for me is something that is part of the infrastructure. It's core. It'll be there everywhere. Who is our real customer in organizations? Is the end customer. Let's assume that customer is 25 years old. Engaging them quickly, engaging them aggressively, and engaging them for the 2 or 3 years when they're in your organization is what digital should enable you to do. So the first thing, what I'm talking about is managing experiences. And if you don't manage experience, you'll never be successful. Completely aligned to customer experiences. That digital is going to be engaging at a behavioral level, experience level, and then getting into technology. I look at digital technology as 4 clusters. The first is the whole user experience, user interface part of digital technology. The second is the boring stuff, which is cloud, mobility, etc., which we all confused ourselves and said that is what digital enterprises are all about. The third is the application area. In manufacturing, we call it Industry 4.0, and there are multiple, IoT, augmented reality, virtual reality, etc., which are all enablers of solving a consumer problem. And the fourth is the most boring stuff, which is cybersecurity, because without a secure access point, you're kind of completely risking the crown jewels when it comes to digital technology. So that's the technology piece. And now let's forget about it. What else is important? When you're talking about building a successful digital enterprise, completely viscerally understanding consumer behavior as well as employee behavior, and then fitting in the right technology is important. It lends itself to this whole area called business process reengineering. How are we able to optimize the business processes of the organization to both take advantage of the technology push and very much capitalize on the new pull of the millennial consumer? So when you're operating at that intersection of new customer pull and great technology push, that's when your process will be optimized. And finally, it's all about culture and innovation. And the important point I'm making is that innovation in digital really means how do you play the ecosystem. So innovation for me is how do you as a company invest in innovative ideas, innovative technologies through entrepreneurs. So building that, another big often used word called ecosystem, how do you build an ecosystem where all the innovation that's happening in the world can flow through to your company?
In his keynote address, Purushottam Purswani, Chief Technologist, Head of Digital, talks about the age of the digital dilemma and how digital is becoming part of the physical world.
In our Journey 2022 document, we said it's an age of digital dilemmas. Okay, you have multiple options and you have to kind of navigate through those options. Okay, so what we did was internally, we kind of brainstorm what could be these dilemmas. Okay, and as a leader, which one should I go for? Okay, so what we did is we kind of grouped this into 3: people engagement, because we believe in digital age, people play a very key role. Okay, so we kind of divided this into people engagement. We get into business models, so very interesting business models, and we also looked at trust and compliance. Going forward, what I believe is it's no more digital world and physical world. Digital is becoming a part of physical world. Okay, data is becoming a gold mine now. Okay, and there are certain examples which I have put here. Okay, now what Amazon or Airbnb had taught us, where you have producers, consumers, get all of them onto a single platform and develop a new business model. Okay, so this data becomes a kind of a oil or a machine which can create a new business models, which is helping the customer, taking the customer experience to the next level. My advice to you guys is formulate your vision and values. That is where you start with. You look at what is available. Okay, so it is not always build yourself, but probably take something which is available, which is best. So build a collaborative platform ecosystem. Most important is nurturing your workforce. Okay, take your people along with you in the journey and nurture their skills, nurture their behavioral competencies and things like that. Okay, make your roadmaps adaptive, because digital, the pace is changing so fast and you have to be really adaptive. Okay, and most important is ensure that you are exploring or using a lot of algorithms when you do that, because that is where a lot of stuff would give you some insights.
Dr. Karipur Nanda Kumar, Associate Professor and Area Head, SP Jain School of Global Management, gave a presentation on IT Management Conclave 2018 Industry Survey, which focuses on the 2019 outlook, digital leadership and governance, and factors to build successful enterprises.
So the survey focus is going to be on 3 areas. Firstly, being the end of the year, we thought, okay, let's look at 2019. What is going to be like in 2019? So that's going to be the outlook. The second part is the digital leadership and governance. What are some of the key attributes? What are some of the organizational challenges? And lastly, what are some of the critical success factors at an enterprise level? And what are some of the barriers and plan actions that we could take to build successful enterprises? So we had the survey across 4 cities, namely Singapore, Mumbai, Sydney, and Dubai. The good news for 2019 is that we expect the general economic outlook for 2019 is going to be much stronger in India compared to the region. Of course, the region, the places like Singapore is a bit more developed market, so I would expect the growth rate to be lower. But by and large, it's the good news. And now, how does it translate to ICT industry outlook? It also looks, 90% of the survey participants agree that there is going to be a strong growth in Indian market for ICT industry. And the other good news is digital transformation is a top priority for IT spending compared to the traditional essential software, essential infrastructure, and so on. Now, when it comes to governance framework, there are 3 areas where we found India could do better. In particular, the area of digital strategy, digital policies, and digital standards. In these 3 areas, over 1/3 of the survey participants felt that the governance mechanism that they have in place are very ad hoc and opportunistic. It's not good enough. We need to do more about it. All right. Now, the last part of the survey is about building successful digital enterprises. So, again, the first thing we asked the survey participants are, why are you even looking at building a digital enterprise? So, the answer came out very strongly, both from India as well as from the region. Well, we want to build competitive advantage. Well, we want to keep pace with the competitors. We want to create new business model, not just to cut the cost or improve the operating margin. So, very clear strategic reasons across India and region that it is important to build a digital enterprise.
Dr. Balakrishnan Granthi, Dean, Global MBA and MGB, SP Jain School of Global Management, talks about how the use of technology can transform the youngsters to become future leaders.
No matter which business, whether it be a profit, non-profit, or even a government entity, you got to understand the customer experience journey map. What is it they're expecting before transaction, during the usage, post-usage? What are the critical touch points, and what are the kinds of data that you can collect by leveraging data? And it is that intelligence that can help make the organization intelligent. What we are trying to do at SP Jain, transforming the youngsters to be future leaders, to enable disruptive innovation. And we are walking the talk by trying to embrace technology in how we engage and impart learning, whether it be online or in the classroom.
Aslam Khan, CMD and CEO Octaware Technologies, talks about why it is important to change transformational leadership styles to situational leadership styles.
Transformational leadership style, it should be changed to a situational leadership style, because once the technology is changing, the definition of the digital is changing, the style of the leadership should change. What I analyze the attributes and the dimensions of the situational leadership, that during the first stage, what he should be doing, the leader or the CTO who is managing the project, in the first stage of the ERP implementation now, he should be using the approach of directing the different integration during the requirement or the design phase. During the implementation or the customization, I feel he should be using the approach of selling, the consulting. Whereas in the data migration or in the user training, it should be a collaboration. And in the last go live, it should be a delegation to the expert team to make the ERP system into the production. Now, these attributes of telling, selling, or a participative, or a delegation is a leadership dimension of the situational leadership.
This was followed by a panel discussion on the topic, Building Successful Digital Enterprises. Experts from across the sectors shared their thoughts and insights on digitization. Watch the highlights of the panel discussion.
You've got experience from SAP and Oracle as well. So do you see that as a big challenge, or how do you see that? Because companies have legacy systems and relying on very old methodologies. So do you see that as a big challenge? And if yes, then how are companies dealing with it?
Yes, I think that's human nature. We are all resistant to change. And I think it is incumbent upon leaders to try and shake things up in a nice way, carry the people along, because humans by nature are complacent. And I think that's the first problem that we have, which causes this, why can't we move to digital? In the corporate world, I believe there is the other side of the coin, which is the fear of failure. So I think the complacency plus the failure or the fear of failure is what causes this whole resistance to doing digital or any other kind of transformation until such time the transformation is brought to us. Like you said, when Netflix entered, suddenly every Indian player wants an OTT app, right? So that's one thing. Coming back to your specific question, Deepa, I think yes, investments are made, effort is spent, platforms are created, and then we expect that, hey, this should last me for 5 years. Right? Guess what? No, it's not going to happen. That's just what I talked about earlier, speed, acceleration. That's just the new reality. And I think it's the faster, the earlier that leaders and leadership reset their expectation of how long an investment is going to last them, the better it will be to drive innovation.
Which are the skills that you think are so important for the digital economy today?
You asked what is the skill people need to learn. I was thinking learning is the biggest skill that people need to have, because what you have today is not going to be relevant tomorrow. Pick your area in each of these, whichever interests you more, and pick the skill. From what I'm seeing today, JavaScript is pretty much eating the world in all of those after Google started building up, JS and all of that. So pick any one skill and be known for it, become an expert at it. I think that's important because everything else, you will be able to relate to that in some way or the other. So I would still say that pick one skill and become an expert at it. And then something that we use the term often saying one step in today and one step in the future is important. So be good at what you're doing, but you have to take some time out, constantly keep track of what other people are doing, new frameworks, download them, do things, because innovation is happening. And last point I would want to add is those days are gone of one guy sitting in isolation and writing millions of lines of code and producing something. It's all about assembling now. So you need to, I think inherently, even as a programmer, as a beginner, you need to be what used to earlier be an architect. You should be able to figure out how to take various components and modules and kind of configure and assemble them so that you can reconfigure. So I think those skills which used to come much later in careers earlier are skills that people should probably start off with. The ability to look at what's going on and how you can pull various pieces and plug them and unplug them together is very important.
How do you think this entire digital ecosystem is shaping up, and what's your honest opinion on how these startups are dealing with this entire digital ecosystem as well and the value they add?
I like to address this in two parts. The perspective of the entrepreneur and the perspective of existing organizations. These two are a little different. So when you look at the perspective of the entrepreneur, what I'm going to say may not be applicable to all, but one of the reasons some of the startups are not able to scale or they do not manage to succeed, this is because they are so wedded to their idea and they are so obsessed with that idea that you forget to think about the ecosystem that you need to constantly think about developing alongside your idea, your concept. So collaboration and having partners will be extremely important. On the other hand, existing organizations, they believe at times that they can do most of it themselves. And even if they don't believe that way, even if they want to really partner, the challenge in terms of who is the right partner, whose idea I want to back, and who will really be able to connect with my customers' requirements, all of these require a lot of close working, and there is a bit of a give and take. Can I trust this entrepreneur from outside the system? Can the entrepreneur trust the organization? So that whole trust building process, the whole equation in terms of wanting to pilot, make mistakes, but quickly figure out what is the next model. So it's a long journey, but this journey can be shortened, and both the existing organizations and entrepreneurs can really find sweet spots for collaboration and making those excellent ways forward if there is the fundamental trust equation that is built right at the very beginning of this relationship.
I'd like to hear your views on internal collaboration. How difficult or easy it is, and what are the steps that you take to make sure this is a success for the organization?
For us, content is the king, right? Whatever we make on TV or digital is what we want to do. Now, everything else is a subset of it. If the content is good, you'll get good sales. If your content is good, it will have traction. If the content is good, it will be shown in other platforms. And then you will have your tech and other functions supporting the content. So everybody should work, and they work towards that singular goal of achieving that. Now, would you want to be called differently in future? Possibly tech and content together, but not much will change. And organizationally, we are moved towards that direction very clearly.
Excellent. Your views on data democratization?
There are two kinds of people who can actually visualize data in a way, and there are people who can't. And so it is important for data to be democratized, but only to a certain extent, after which it needs to be transformed before it is given to the end individual, because not everybody is trained to utilize data in the same way as a data scientist is. So I can look at data and transform some insight out of it, but not everybody can.
Sure.
But there are means possible which are low cost in order to translate data and push it to the last employee. So today, the guy who sits at a security desk has, I cannot believe the amount of data that he has, which I wouldn't want him to have had at some point of time. So data democratization has its pros and cons. If it is being used to make good decisions, then it's fine. But I think as a country, again, we are very loose about data security.
Sure.
There is less regulation. There's a lot of things that are not in place. So I believe data democratization, but not in current regulatory standards.
What's your view of how AI is going to take the various industries and how it's going to grow?
Not everybody can read data, but certainly they can read processed data. And the question is there an AI that makes the right kind of visual representation available to people that makes sense to them? So the fact that, I can't look at 10-dimensional data sets and figure out what it means, that problem kind of goes away if you have wide availability of AI. And this is a trend that is becoming stronger and will get stronger over time, that computing is going to be pushed to the edge, that we all know.
Yeah.
What does that mean? That doesn't mean only that computing is going to be pushed to the edge, but decision making is going to be pushed to the edge.
Thank you all for your views on,
Thank you.
digital enterprises.
Focus. Ideate. Innovate. Enable.